Welcome back again. In this video we will work through step 9 and 10 of tutorial 5. In the previous video we created the geometry. Now we will move on and set up the stock to be machined and then perform pocketing and island facing. Let's get going and start at step 9. I've already turned on my toolpath manager by selecting Alt O, and previously I set up the machine type to mill default. Moving over to the left, I'm going to hit the plus sign in front of properties, and the first thing I'd like to do is set up the stock. So I'm going to pick on stock setup. For this tutorial we're going to use cylindrical stock. So in the shape section I'm going to change that to cylindrical, and then moving on down for axis I'm going to select Z. So the axis at the center of our cylinder is running up the Z axis. Moving on down, I'm also going to select display and fit screen. Now for the dimensions of our stock, the height of the material is going to be 1 inch, and for the diameter 9.0. Now moving over to the left, for the stock origin I'm going to change the Z to -1. So we're going to set the datum at the top of the part. Everything's complete in stock setup. Let's move over now to tool settings. Feed calculation is going to be taken from tool. Moving over into toolpath configuration, I'm going to turn on assign tool numbers sequentially and also check warn of duplicate tool numbers. Down in the advanced options area I'm going to switch on override defaults with modal values and check clearance, retract and feed. Now for the sequence number I'm going to start at 1 and we're going to move up in increments of 1. Now for the material I'm going to move on down. I'm going to pick select. In the source area I'm going to open this up, select library, and then pick aluminum inch 6061 and then pick OK. Everything's looking good here. I'm going to pick OK and then move on up and get an ISO view. As you can see, the red dashed lines represent our cylindrical stock. I'm going to move on up now and get a top view. Let's move on now to step 10. We're going to pocket an island facing. Toolpaths. Going to move into pocket. Now for the first prompt, select pocket chain 1. I'm going to move on down and pick this entity. And as you can see, it successfully chained all those entities. For chain 2, I'm going to move over to the left and pick this circle. Everything's looking good. I'm going to move on down now and pick OK. Now it's time to select a tool. So I'm going to pick select library tool, and I'm going to go over to the right here and pick filter. Moving over into the tool type section, I'm going to pick none to disable any previous selections. Move on up and pick the icon for flat end mills. Now moving over to the right in the tool diameter section, I'm going to leave equal as is, and I've already got my diameter that I'm after, 0.375, 3/8. I'm going to pick OK, and as you can see it's successfully filtered out a 3/8 flat end mill. I'm going to pick OK. Now moving on up, for the tool number, this is tool number 1. I'm going to change the length offset to 1, and then moving on down into the comment area I'm going to type in pocket with island at a different height. In the previous video we translated the 5-inch diameter circle down in Z 0.125. Everything looks great here. I'm going to move over now to pocketing parameters. I'm just going to move the dialog box up. First of all, I'm going to turn on clearance, and I'm going to change it from 2 to 1 inch. Retract is fine, feed plane is fine, incremental 0.1, top of stock is in absolute, set at 0. For my depth, I'm going to change that to minus 0.5. Moving over to pocket type, I'm going to open up this drop down, and then I'm going to pick island facing. Next, I'm going to select the island facing button. My overlap percentage is set at 50. As you can see, 0.1875, that's 50% of the diameter of the tool. My distance, I'm going to cut that down to 0.25, my approach distance, and also for the exit distance, I'm going to change that to 0.25. Everything looks good here. I'm going to move on down and pick OK. The next thing I'm going to do is enable depth of cuts, and then I'm going to pick on the depth of cuts button. For the maximum rough step, I'm going to change that to 0.25, and I'm also going to activate use island depths. Everything looks great here. I'm going to pick OK. Let's now move over to roughing finishing parameters. Now for the cutting method, I'm going to select constant overlap spiral. I'm going to turn off minimize tool burial, and I'm also going to turn off finish. Everything looks great. I'm going to pick OK. What we're going to do next is get an isometric view and then move into verify and check out this toolpath. So I'm going to move on up to the top, pick isometric. Let's move over now, pick verify, can move the dialog box up and then hit machine. So there's our island. And that completes this video. Thanks very much for watching.